One thing I will say here while the heater's running and getting warmed up in here is GT Gravely Parts really has done good here with showing you the first, second, and the third oil ring. And they also give you handy dandy instructions on how to gap them and everything here. So if you guys get them, you should be able to follow the instructions pretty easy. And I'll show you me putting them in here. I have measured them, and the gaps are all about 4 thousandths out of spec on every single ring above. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slap this 20 over in it because a 25, I went back and checked it again, and everything on that is way too tight. The piston to skirt clearance is bad. So I'm going to put this in here and run it, and like I said before, what's the worst thing happens? It smokes. So here we go. Alrighty guys, so we got the piston here and the rings here from GTGravelyParts.com. And if you guys are hunting for anything, piston rings, piston, anything along those lines, these are the guys to get it from, and everything you order comes with one of these cards, so remember that. So we're going to move into the rings here, which they have supplied the paper and given us all the numbers and everything. I believe them in frame. There we go, for sure. And hopefully you guys will be able to read. I'm trying to read this through the camera, but I don't know if I can. But top compression ring should be 12 to 20. Middle compression ring or second ring, 8 to 16, and the 3-piece oil ring set should be 015 to 55, and one piece should be 08 to 016. So, with all that being said, hopefully you guys saw the clip, whether I'll stick it in the beginning or the end, but let me see if I can get the rings in here. Of course I can't get them to go in when the camera's here, but stick them down in here. And I'm pretty sure you guys cannot see this, but I could be wrong. So basically, I lost my feeler gauge I wanted to have. Here's a 24. As you can see, a 24 thousandths feeler gauge goes in, and it's snug. So basically, the top ring is out of spec by about 4 thousandths, and with a Gravely engine, most of you guys will know that's nothing. So we're gonna run what we brung, and I've already checked the number 2, the number 3 ring. They all spec out 4 thousandths over. What I'm going to show you guys here is that the 20 over piston does have some slop to it, but this 25 over piston won't even go down in past that spot. Which it's hitting on the oil rings, I know it is. So I could probably, if I filed this piston down, which this piston is not that good in the first place, make that work. And then I'd have to file the rings down and everything. But for what I'm going to build, which is going to be mainly going to be a show tracker, but it's going to get used some, I think we'll be okay. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to start by putting the rings on. And the other thing you need to note is that you can, in fact, install the rings correctly. Could be two. So the top compression ring is square, so it does not matter which way it goes on. Try and Hopefully I'm in frame here, guys. Yeah, I'm in frame for sure. But I don't have a ring spreader, so we'll just put these down on here ever so gingerly. Because believe me, if you break these, you're screwed. You gotta buy another set. And also, I don't know, hopefully the camera will pick up on that. That's pretty cool. Now the middle compression ring, hopefully you guys can see that there, is actually beveled on one side. Whether the camera can pick up on that or not, not 100% sure, but basically the bevel needs to go down. The other thing I'll mention here is, for right now you just want to get them on, and then you can spin the rings where they need to go exactly later. And I think I'm actually doing this in reverse order. You should do the oil rings first. Probably didn't do a lick of that in frame hardly. And the oil rings, using the ring expander tool, didn't have that. Let's see, does the previous page show the oil rings? Yes, it does. Install the wafer first. See, which I would have done it the other way, to be honest. Oh, again, I didn't do it on camera, but the wafer ring is very easy to install. Now, if I can, like I said, once you get these in here, then you can line up where all the ring gaps are and everything. Which I can start looking at that now, because the oil rings are not very hard, or not easy to spin. Bottom thin oil ring, wrist pin. Okay. This expansion slot right here goes towards the exhaust side. I am pretty sure of that, if I remember correctly. Well, unless I'm wrong. Maybe I better read again, I'm getting old. Yep, it does say install the oil rings first, so I did do that backwards. It's amazing, they don't reference the expansion slot in the piston. You would think that goes towards the exhaust side, but on the old piston I have it on the intake side. Hold on a minute, guys. Alright guys, I actually went in the house and double checked something. I wanted to make sure, but the expansion slot does go towards the exhaust side. That is dictated, a lot of the original pistons had a notch in it, and the notch would face towards the rear of the tractor, which was actually the front of the engine. Obviously this one doesn't have the notch, and what was confusing me is the piston's actually in backwards on this tractor, which I actually didn't catch until now. So next step is here, I'm going to dictate where your ring gaps end. So the bottom oil ring you want between the expansion slot and wrist pin. You want the wafer right at the wrist pin in the rear. And you want the top oil ring to the left of the wrist pin. And the second ring, they want it spun over here in front of the expansion ring and in between the wrist pin, roughly about halfway. The one thing you gotta realize is these will spin a little bit when the machine's running. And the top ring needs to be the whole way on the intake side. I went 180 around. Roughly about there. And the top oil ring is lining up with it, so we'll go right about there in the front. So, in general, piston will go in that way. Now I'm gonna go get some oil, and I'm gonna put on this rings and cylinder, and we'll get them started down on the bench here. And the easiest way I have found is you put, let's see, you want to put the clip towards the front of the tractor in and start the wrist pin in the back. I found it's easier to drive in from the back. So hold on a minute here. And okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my finger with some oil on and run around the rings here. Then at that point, we'll be good to start the piston down in. And I'm going to put a little bit more on the cylinder and in the top when I'm ready here. So, you might have to get 2 screwdrivers and push the rings together. 2 right here. So, hopefully you guys are in frame yet. Yes. Can't see a thing because you're on the dark side of the moon here. Be fun to get these started. There we go. Kind of gotta force down on the piston at the same time you get the rings pushed into place. And of course, with the camera going, they want to be a pain in my you-know-what. Aha! There we go. Okay, got the first ring started. Same thing here. This would be real easy to do if you had the right tools to do it. The nice thing is with L's is they were kind of engineered to be worked on without having a machine shop. And normally the oil rings are the most fragile and can be the most pain to get started without breaking. So you want to be real careful with them. There we go. Okay, just got the bottom oil removed. Okay, now we'll get that started down in there. And now is definitely a good place to stop. And next session here we'll get the cylinder cleaned up really good. And I'm going to decide what I'm going to do here because I need to weld a stud on this. And it might be easier to do that on the bench than it is in the machine. And we'll take the old piston off, get the silicone off the cylinder, get the gasket set out, and we'll start with that. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see everybody later. And just for making me look good, since I didn't show putting the piston rings on because I put them on in reverse order. So later, guys.